I'm waiting for my package to arrive.
I'm just trying to track a package that we sent to Bolivia.
It's right there. My house is right there. It's here. It's here.
But when I look online, it's still in the exact same position as it was.
It's a box.
I would say the investigation is needed, but
What's in the box? Let's find out.
Let's just open it.
I don't have the package or nothing. That is the problem.
All right, so here we go.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Erica Boney. For those of you who are new here, the Barista League is an event focused on community, accessibility, and sustainability. In normal times, their team hosts competitions and throws parties all over the world. But this is the Barista League Online, a totally remote competition where 8 coffee pros will complete 3 rounds of coffee challenges from the comfort and safety of their own homes. In the first 2 episodes, you met our 8 competitors, Kat, Steven, Demi, Kendra, Mimo, Nicholas, An, and Marley. This week, they'll be taking on round 1 of the competition, Guess the Origin Challenge. But before we do that, I'd love to introduce this week's co-host, someone who is no stranger to tasting and describing different coffees. For the past 12 or so years, he's been the host of In My Mug, recording over 600 episodes tasting and telling the stories of different coffees. He's the king of Chemex, founder of Hasbean Coffee, partner of Drop Coffee and 3FE, and the infamous voice behind Cappuccino. It's Stephen Layton.
I'm so super excited to be part of this.
Thanks for joining us, Steve. Over the past few weeks, our competitors have received their competition boxes full of coffees, mystery ingredients, and some other fun surprises. Well, all except Nicholas, that is.
I'm not really quite sure about the shipment.
But he spoke to the local UPS people in Bolivia yesterday.
It hasn't arrived yet.
Yes, I don't have yet.
I see you called us yesterday.
We need that package to arrive in Bolivia so that the recipient can be part of the competition that we're putting together.
This week, Steve and I will be taking you on a journey through round 1 of the competition, the first of 3 coffee challenges. But first, we thought we should let the competitors explain how it's all going to work.
Let's take a look at what's inside.
Round 1, Guess the Origin. For round 1 of the Barista League Online,
You'll be tasting 5 mystery coffees. Your goal is to identify the origin countries and processing methods of these coffees.
Brew the coffees any way you'd like. Once you've tasted them all, please write down your guesses on the papers we've provided for you and hold them up for us to see.
Happy brewing, your friends of the Barista League. Cool.
So I think my best bet is probably to cup these coffees. I want to be able to compare them side by side, and cupping is really the best way to do that.
Most of our competitors have chosen to cup the coffees. But what in the fresh hell is a cupping anyway? Well, it's the industry standard for tasting coffee. The idea is to remove all of the variables of coffee brewing and allow the taster to evaluate multiple coffees side by side. First, you weigh out the same amount of each coffee. Grind that up and fill each cup up with hot water. After waiting 4 minutes, you break the crust, skim off the grounds floating on top, and wait for it to cool before tasting each coffee. Slurping is highly encouraged. One of our competitors, though, has chosen another route.
I'm not going to traditionally cup due to the fact that my cups have too small of a mouth. I'm going to do a pour over with an actual Kalita wave, not a clay one that I made. Oh no, my scale is not working.
these smell so good!
So it looks like I'm gonna have to cup.
Nervous, man?
So So I really make do with what I have because my scale broke. It's not gonna be easy because, like I mentioned, speaking with, my cups aren't appropriate for this, but I have the right spoons, I have water, and I'm gonna have to go with what my measuring cup says with the water.
Improvising is an important part of playing the game. But before we start cupping, let's welcome the founder of Umeshiso and the person behind those killer rainbow cupping spoons we know that you've seen around. With their number one rule for cupping, let's welcome Umeko Moriyoshi.
Hi, my name is Umeko and I am the founder of umeshiso.com, which is an online coffee supply shop that sells cupping spoons just like this. I would like to share my number one rule for cupping, which is we're all there to share and compare. And what I mean by that is we're not going to a cupping with the goal of everyone tasting the same thing and everyone saying the same thing. If that was the goal of cupping, then you would just only need one person to cup every single time. No, the goal is for multiple people to taste the same coffees, to have different experiences, and to compare notes about what they're experiencing. And just because someone says something that wasn't your experience, that doesn't mean your experience isn't valid. It doesn't mean that theirs isn't valid. It's all valid, and you all get to talk about it and kind of integrate it together. And that is my number one rule of cupping.
Thank you so much, Umeko. Now, let's dive on into round one. Remember, the competitors have no information whatsoever about these coffees. They've been given blank bags marked with only a number. Steve, tell us a little bit about coffee number one.
So I think this one is a tricky one. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's trying to catch us out. This has got kind of lots of florals, a little bit like of a black tea note, which I'm kind of instantly going, Ethiopian. But actually there's an underlying sweetness that I don't see in Ethiopian, so I think it's something that's pretending to be an Ethiopian. I'm thinking something Central South American that's an unusual varietal.
Sounds good to me. Now let's see how everyone gets on with coffee number one.
And I still think that it's washed Colombian just by looking at it. Washed.
Sugar, kind of like vanilla maybe.
Ooh, that's quite nice.
I'm guessing the wash as well. Real clean coffee, good body.
Super clean, like red apples, like red apple skins.
Malic acid, tanginess.
Orangey on the tip of my tongue. Maybe that's the fruit that I was tasting.
Go ahead and say that this is like a Latin American coffee.
So, here we go.
I think coffee number one is a washed Colombian.
Number one is Colombia wash.
This is my guess for coffee number one.
Okay, so it's time to reveal, and this coffee comes from Morgon, which is a Gothenburg-based roastery. It comes from a producer called Daniel Munoz, and it doesn't surprise me. This is a Colombian and a varietal. I kind of felt that it was something unusual, and this is a washed pink bourbon.
It actually seems like coffee number one wasn't all that hard for these coffee pros. Now, on to coffee number two.
Oh, this one smells a little toastier.
It's a lot heavier, like thicker body.
Lots of body, quite raw.
This coffee is a little bit more familiar. This is a cuddle in a cup.
Bit nutty, a little chocolatey.
It's just chocolatey, like a dark, not sweet chocolate.
Dry dark chocolate. That dark chocolate has now turned into like a really rich, deep chocolate ganache.
It is from Love Coffee Roasters in Malmo, and it is from Chapaninas, and it is filter coffee, Brazilian coffee that you just love.
Coffee number two is going to be a Brazil, and it's natural.
This is my cup 2, Brazil natural.
2 is a Brazil natural.
While we would have accepted honey process as a correct answer, in Brazil, this method is known as pulped natural. So, they were so close. Okay, on to coffee number 3.
So our third coffee comes from Nordby, and if you haven't guessed it already, this is so obviously Kenyan.
Really juicy acidity, a little bit of like citric, like tomato.
Just super juicy and floral. It's got those really kind of big, like citrus notes to it.
Lime, grapefruit and lime.
Lots of like red fruit in this. Strawberry, berry.
So easy, right? Maybe not.
Number 3's got such great sweetness. Really nice acidity. A bit more malic. It's kind of makes me think of like a Colombian.
Sweet like honey.
But it's got really good body as well. Sweetness there. Acid there, but it's not like really loud. It could be another Colombia or African coffee. Coffee number 3 is Colombia latte.
I did spell it right, didn't I?
So number 3, Burundi, and it's washed.
I think number 3 is a wash process from Kenya.
A washed Kenya.
Awesome, y'all.
The delay has been going on for more than 15 days already.
All right, let's dive into coffee number 4.
That's funky. Like grape candy.
And it tastes like berry. That is so good.
Oh, this one's a natty boy. Definitely natty.
Mango, pineapple, tropical fucking fruit. Holy hell. I literally just wrote holy hell on my sheet.
So on to coffee number 4, and I got an apology to make to all of the competitors on this one, because if any of you got this one right, I am very, very surprised, and I bow down to your amazing skills.
Well, Steve, it seems like you were right about this one.
This could be one of the sort of stranger fermentations.
I'm guessing anaerobic something or other. It's funkier than just a natural.
It's cooled down, it's got a lot more subtle.
Colombia, Brazil, South American, I'm assuming.
It's like a really long, sweet finish.
Coffee number 4, I think, is an anaerobic natural from Brazil.
Number 4 is Honduras natural.
This is my guess for coffee number 4.
4, lactic Colombian.
So that's my guess for cup number 4.
So this is from Thailand, and it's from the Doi Pangkhon region, and I selected this because I wanted to catch you out, but also it's really interesting what's happening in Thailand at the minute. There's a real emerging third wave market. There's a lot of cafes, there's a lot of baristas, there's a lot of people excited about coffee. But instead of me talking about it, why don't we get Brody to talk about it and tell us a little bit about what's happening.
Greetings from Chiang Mai, northern Thailand, where we are fighting COVID-19 and the economy like all of you guys. But we are also facing another crisis right now. There's a historic level of forest fire in northern Thailand. Thank you, Steve and Roland, for asking us to participate in this competition. I am pretty sure barely any one of you got this coffee correct. The coffee you are having right now, and I'm having it right now too, is from Doi Pangkhon, Chiang Rai, which is about 3 hours from where I am right now. What you are enjoying is probably one of the best Thai coffees being served anywhere around the world at this moment in time. It's a natural process, and you should be tasting very obvious lychee flavor with some funky winey notes and sweetness like I would say molasses. I just really want to thank everyone who supports Thai coffee and has helped it come this far. We are a nascent but extremely excitingly emerging coffee origin that I hope you can follow. We are vibrant, very vibrant coffee community here from both the farming and the consumer end of it. I hope some of you will get to visit our country as well. Thank you again for participating in this competition. Thailand is honored to be part of it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Foudy. It's an honor to get to show some of the amazing work you're doing in Thailand. This coffee sounds delicious. But before we move on to our next coffee, we want to thank our amazing video sponsor, Pacific Foods Barista Series. Here to tell you a bit more about it is the 2016 US Barista Champion, co-owner of Black and White Coffee Roasters, and my MC other half, Lem Butler.
What's up, everyone? Lem Butler here from Black and White Coffee Roasters, here to tell you one story out of many about my favorite company in the industry, Pacific Foods Barista Series. This year, we wanted to help as many baristas as we could compete in the barista competition. We had no idea that 7 of the 8 baristas that we were training would actually qualify on the national level. Pacific Foods reached out to us when they found out what we were doing and asked how could they help. We knew 2 of the baristas had no resources to cover the flights all the way out to Orange County. So without even asking, Pacific Foods said, you know what? We're gonna cover all 7 baristas. Entry fees, flights, accommodations, anything they needed to compete on a national level. And that's huge. Peace, 2 times.
Thank you so much for sharing, Lem. And thanks again to Pacific Foods Barista Series. We appreciate all that you do for our industry. Now, let's get back to coffee number 5.
It tastes just like oranges.
It's like refreshing, like a Coke.
I think this one is probably the easiest out of them all to guess the origin. It's a really classic example of this, so let's see how the competitors get on.
Very loud in the city, very clean coffee, juicy, floral. It's just, for me, it's a typical Ethiopia coffee.
On is totally on the right track here, but this coffee seems to be a bit more challenging than Steve expected.
Ooh, this one's pretty. This one almost smells like some kind of flower.
I don't know, I'm having a hard time with number 5. Shoot, it's just very sweet. I get lemonade. This is not a washed coffee. It's got a little bit of a funk to it.
Chicken strips.
I cannot deny the tropical fruit and the florality of this coffee.
Number 5 is bonkers.
Fudge.
So this week's coffee comes from Onyx Coffee Labs in Arkansas in the US. And is a really good example of a washed Ethiopian, grown super high, 2,000 meters above sea level, and a really, really interesting coffee.
I'm gonna say it's an Ethiopian anaerobic fermentation.
I'm guessing it is a wash from Kenya.
Guess for cup 5, Ethiopia, lactic.
I think number 5 is a natural processed coffee from Ethiopia. Fingers crossed.
So that's a wrap. How much fun has that been, tasting all those different coffees and trying to guess the origins? Kind of played along a little myself with it and very really challenging and interesting. They've all come from amazing roasters who need your support. So during these times, get online, buy from sites, buy from local roasters, support everybody you can because everybody in the industry is going to need this. Thank you for joining, and do remember, life is too short for bad coffee.
Thank you so much, Steve, and thanks for joining this week as our co-host and for selecting what turned out to be an impossible coffee to guess. In a second, we will find out the final scores for this week's challenge. But for the past few weeks, we have been calling UPS, trying to track down Nicholas's package.
The company that had to send the package containing the roasted coffee from the Barista League maybe lost my package. Let's go ahead and meet the challenges in the best way we can. For the following rounds, new decisions were made. For round number 2, I will make the signature beverage with a similar coffee to the one that the Barista League sent. For third round, I have been working with Dale Harris as my mentor for this challenge in order to roast the coffee to the compete in Ishikawa. I will continue waiting for the package to arrive sometime and I can carry out the competition in the normal way. Also, competing in this way will be very exciting, since it will be something different for me and very fun. In addition, many thanks to Steven, Angela, Dale, and the team of the Barista League for being in contact with me all this time to carry out this competition in the best way. Thank you all very much, and let the competition continue.
Apparently, it's been held up by customs, or maybe it's been lost. But we are working really hard to try to find a way to get it over to Nicholas. But in the meantime, he's still been busy, not only roasting in his cafe, but working rounds 2 and 3. So he'll be back in the game next week. Yes! Now, let's find out how each of our competitors did at the end of this week's challenge. In the lead with 18 points from 6 correct answers, we have An Yun from New Zealand, followed by Mimo with 15 points, and then a 4-way tie between Demi, Kat, Marley, and Kendra with 12 points each, and Stephen Houston bringing up the rear with 9 points. Now, this is only round 1, folks, and there are so many more points to earn in the coming weeks. It's still anyone's game. Who will have what it takes to be the first ever Barista League online champion? Make sure you're subscribing and let us know who you're rooting for in the comments below. And follow along on Instagram for special sneak peeks and behind-the-scenes clips from this week's episode. We want to send a huge thank you to Morgon Coffee Roasters, Love Coffee, Per Nordby, Hasbean Coffee, and Onyx Coffee Lab one more time for roasting and sending our competitors such delicious coffees. All of the coffees from round 1 are on sale and linked down below in the description. So, please go support these folks by ordering a bag, or 5. Stay tuned for next week as we dive deeper into the Barista League Online in round 2, the Mystery Box Challenge. Happy brewing!